Monty James here. I'll tell you what, that son of mine, Parker, ain't nothing but a greenhorn.
Greenhorn, a person who is inexperienced at a particular vocation.
Sure, he spent summers on the family ranch, but most of the time he was kicking it down in Florida. But now he's back, and I'm proud he wants to be part of farm broadcasting and agriculture. First, he has to pay his dues and ask questions of the ag experts most of us country folk would be embarrassed to ask, but always wondered. Take it away, Greenhorn.
Howdy everyone, and welcome back to another Greenhorn podcast. If you're just starting your ag adventure, if you already know ag, join me as I learn everything ag. Today we've got a real special guest. Not only is he a close friend, but he also was at one point the boss of I think every person in my family. Pretty close to everyone, but probably one or two. The famous Scott Rysdon, CEO of Sioux Steel, and we are here in the Sioux Steel sub-basement. And we are down, you can literally see granite rocks coming out of the basement, all different areas.
Right.
Scott, tell me a little bit about the history of Sioux in this basement.
Well, we're actually in the first edition or the first division of the factory. So we have the factory above us and the factory below. So we're down in the storage area here. And this was the last wall of the factory that was built in 1918. So this is the extent of it. And then, of course, we built on from there. Through the 50s and 60s, and then just recently we moved from this facility to another one. So this is actually where all the bodies are buried. So it's a good place to be. I mean, if we're gonna have a secret conversation, here's where.
Say, are you really gonna dig up the bodies right where they're digging up everything around here?
No, that's on another show.
Oh, okay.
We're doing that on a different show.
Well, I'm guessing so. The setting has changed a lot around here. Obviously, the river's right there. The fall's not far from here. But what's going on around this area?
Well, obviously urban development, people wanting to live downtown is really important. And there's, we've got some really great hospitals in Sioux Falls. We've got some fantastic businesses. So we've got a lot of wealth, generational and otherwise, new wealth that's here in Sioux Falls, and people are wanting new experiences to live. So we just decided to put some of the land into a development and got that started. So we got hotel, we've got a Hilton Canopy, we've got a convention center now, we've got an office building, parking ramp. I think we've got about 120 apartments. I mean, there'll be new shops and retail centers. So right across from the Levitt Shell, which was formed not too long ago. If people don't know about that, that's the there's a Levitt Shell in Memphis. There's 7 Levitt Shells all across the nation.
What's a Levitt Shell?
A Levitt Shell is it's actually a music venue. So
okay.
yeah, the Levitts actually gave the money to produce a result where they have music venues that are free around the United States. So there's 52 concerts here a year. And it provides a lot of great entertainment and a lot of draw downtown. So it's a fantastic addition to the city.
So Sioux Steel has kind of changed. It went, its contribution to the area has always been so huge. I mean, Sioux Steel in Sioux Falls, and it's just crazy how as times change, you got to change so much to keep up with it.
Right. I think, the podcast here is a change in the Yan.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously a big change in where the direction you guys are going. So excited to have you on the team. Welcome aboard, by the way.
Thank you.
And I think isn't change just the only constant anymore. So as a company grows, it also is trying to diversify, look for new investment possibilities and new areas of growth. And so this just happened to be one that we were able to capitalize. But we do a lot of innovation. I'm sure we'll be talking about it as we go along. But yeah, I would say in anybody's career, you're always trying to move and change and be a part of what's next.
Yeah. Well, so that's kind of, I want to get into the meat and potatoes of everything. I want to ask, I don't know much about ag.
Okay.
I should. I mean, going back my family generations of farmers and ranchers, and I still don't know the basics. And I think that you'll be able to help me with that. But
Sure.
I don't want us to have to sit here without hors d'oeuvres and drinks.
I appreciate that.
I'm going to get our butler. This is the
is that how it works?
assistant director to the assistant director.
Oh, hey, Monty James, how about that?
Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for
Thank
joining
you for
us.
acknowledging me, sir.
Here, give us
Would you like some Tatanka?
Yes.
There you go.
Is that actually a legal knife? And
I don't think, no. Come arrest my dad.
Yeah, find us. Find her ass. I can't get this wiener out of here. There we go.
That's okay. I'm
Thank you for having me on your show.
yeah.
We'll probably have to cut all of that. I mean,
Yeah,
he
probably.
really has a face for radio.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So something I have had a question about, Scafco. As I'm cutting my shows, whenever I'm putting commercials in,
Sure.
I hear a lot about Scafco. I'm not even quite sure what it is. What is Scafco?
Yeah, well, Scafco is a manufacturer actually in the Pacific Northwest, and they've been manufacturing since 1956. It was owned by the Stone family, and Larry wanted to get out of the business, and we were lucky enough to be able to work a deal with him to buy the business, and so now that basically gives us a good region between here and the Pacific Northwest to be able to deliver products and services to people in that quadrant. So really, Scafco is a grain manufacturer.
Okay.
Primarily they build water tanks and they do a lot of other things, but they're mainly in grain bins and making them not only for the overseas market, but for also the wheat market in the Pacific Northwest there. And actually a very unique bin design, and it's very efficient. So it's able to compete in a lot of different areas. So we're excited to bring that.
And with grain bins, that's obviously my assistant director to the assistant director used to sell them.
Okay.
So I'd hear plenty about them. And I know one of the big difficulties with grain bins is that there's a lot of hazard involved. However, I know that there's a sweep that you guys make that kind of has changed the game there.
Yeah.
How does, is it the grain bin sweep?
Yeah, it's a paddle sweep. So we got in that business by taking on an inventor, and we actually have that as a pretty consistent theme. So if you have people who are watching the podcast that are inventors, we're always taking on new inventors, and we're wanting them to be a part of the team. And we got formulas to make sure that they get paid good royalty. We've really earned, I think, a good reputation for being super honest, with those inventors and getting them, to market. It's really, sometimes it's hard for an individual who's got a great idea, even if it hasn't seen paper yet, but to get it patented and get it in there, and then we help defend it, manufacture it for them.
Doesn't that kind of hold back the industry if they don't have a way to get?
Well, it's so true, Parker. I mean, honestly, the thing about that is that all of the great ideas in agriculture come from the producer. I mean, really, most of the great innovations come from the producer. I mean, look at John Deere and all. I mean, really, that all started with the farmer himself. So it's it's constantly evolving. Like we talked about, these different opportunities that were available to us, and we do that very consistently. So yeah, we got into the paddle sweep business, and we've gotten into a lot of other businesses.
How many ag businesses are under the Sioux umbrella right now?
It's 13.
Wow.
13 different, divisions and entities that are related to ag. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so do you try, I know that they're all pretty specialized and they've all got their different areas, but is that like your goal then to one day build an ag empire where you can provide any service to any?
Well, we'd love to, but there's a lot of competitors, and obviously all those guys are really great at making products. So do we offer great solutions? We absolutely do, and so do they. But we typically are trying to offer more unique solutions. I brought a DSH hopper there, a dust suppression hopper, the paddle sweep, which is the safest sweep in the industry. We've got a lot of those innovations. So if you think about the farmer too, we're very much like that because we're a family company, and they've got to innovate, right, to be able to grow. Maybe they're growing specialty crops to get a little more margin. Maybe they're growing them for rotation. They've got all those plans to do that. And there's some really great producers out there that are even sharing on podcasts and so forth. But we're trying to produce. We're trying to produce the most innovation to change the industry. I think really our mantra is about innovation and changing the industry. We're trying to do anything we can to keep pushing the industry forward. We feel like we're not at the edge all the time, but there's a lot of places where we actually bleeding edge. We're right there.
The industry's changing quite a bit. How do you adapt to Sort of. It used to be, I know that this is a family operation. You said it was your great-grandfather that started Sioux Steel.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure that he dealt with family farmer after family farmer after family farmer. Now that it's sort of become a lot of bigger operations, like how have you had to adjust?
Well, obviously, you know, the easy one is tanks got bigger. You know, when I started, we were selling 30s and 36-foot bids. We still sell those, but we don't sell as many of them now as the tanks got bigger. But now we're going to see, you know, new ways of sweeping the product. We're moving into the IoT of those devices to make sure that we're able to make them capable of attaching to phones and Wi-Fi networks, so those farmers can know what their grain temperature is in their. Oh yeah, like I mean, we can do it in our house. We can change the thermostat with a Nest thermostat or something, Google thermostat. Why can't we do it on a grain bin? It's been one of my biggest things forever. Is if you look at a grain bin and you say, well, I've got a 48-foot grain bin. It's holding 60,000 bushels at $4 a bushel. You got $240,000 worth of grain in there. And you don't have a way of making sure you know what the temperature and the moisture of that product is, and that will affect your ability to get that outcome. If you went to a bank and you said, well, can I withdraw $100? They said, well, you don't have $100. You only have 75. You lost value when it was in the grain bin. It's antithetical to what we're trying to do to create a good solution for the customer. So, yeah.
It's kind of like what you were saying earlier, bringing that cutting edge of technology that's already everywhere else, like getting it moved over into an industry that's a little behind, but this we found while we were down here in the sub basement.
Yeah.
This is an old hog pen, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
And that industry changed so much that they really moved away from stuff like this. Like, is this something?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's of course that was developed when a farmer had 5 hogs. And they were all doing it and breeding hogs, and it was a huge thing. The average acreage was 160 to 500 acres was the biggest farms, and things like that. So yeah, the hog pan was a way to do it cheaply, right? And then go to the 4-H with your hogs and so forth. And then we advanced a number of years, but then they got so mechanized that we just kind of fell out of the hog market that way. But I do think it's coming back a little bit to that. We actually sell some of the more natural products now than we used to, because people want to grow hogs without antibiotics, and of course there's a lot of that going on, so it's pretty cool.
I'm sure that you guys stay up to date on legislation then and stuff like that.
We try to, yeah, for sure, yeah. But the larger farmer is going to have different needs. With labor, machinery, and everything, so it has to be more mechanized, more connected, more automatic than ever before. And the producer's doing a fantastic job of trying to understand what those things are next. And the internet's really helping them stay connected through Twitter and shows like yours to understand that. Yeah.
I was absolutely blown away at the amount of farmers and ranchers on TikTok. Like, I started TikTok, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's for the youngins. That's not a thing."
Sure, it's not Chinese farmers, or.
I'd say that, but like half the time I'm like, "Dad, do you know Aaron Copel?" He's like, "Yeah." Like every time, like
really?
I'll get names that pop up. The other day, my aunt followed me, and then 10 minutes later, her ex-husband followed me. And I was like, "Oh, it's crazy." The industry really does want to move forward. It's just It's
stuck. It's stuck. I mean, look at any other industry, and they're way more advanced than ag, except for we could say like combining, auto steer, and all the rest of that stuff. That has evolved a lot, but storage is still in a Neanderthalic state where we've got a lot of room, a lot of headroom to go to make that.
Why do you think this industry is behind on it? Like, as every other industry is kind of growing technologically, why are we behind?
That's a really great question.
Do you think it might be like an age gap thing? Because I do notice that there's a huge difference in the amount of older farmers and ranchers to young people getting into the industry.
Sure. I do think a lot of it has to do with culture. And look, this is the way we've done it for 100 years. I'm sure there's a lot of young farmers out there that have heard that from their dads a million times. And there's a lot of great wisdom in that. And yet, at the same time, I mean, if they've had moisture in the core of their bin and they've lost that core to mold or rot or something like that, I mean, it becomes a really deflating thing from the initial investment that they had in. So their auto steer products help provide the crop to go in the bin, but then they're not keeping that going throughout that process. So we're going to see a huge bolt here in the next 10 years for connections to grain bins, connecting them to other markets, making sure that the producer himself gets a better control of that grain, knowing what moistures and stuff, and he may be actually broadcasting that to other people who own it inside his bin. I mean, it's going to be a really great forward progress. But auto steer was first. A lot of that stuff was first in the industry from a technological standpoint. So we're just slower because we're just in storage. And I guess culturally speaking, once they had it in the bin, they aerated it and then they let it go. But it's going to change.
Gosh,
Yeah.
I mean, this industry though, like it's such a high price point to even get into it. I feel like I would take every precaution with something like storage.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I would think so.
Especially with how dangerous it can. It's something that it really, not to blow smoke up your ass or anything, but you're fighting the good fight because.
I like it. We're cussing.
Hey, you shut the fuck up.
Whoa!
Sorry, Dad.
Did I get recorded now?
Please sign my paycheck. But like that is something. Yeah, we're sitting here questioning. Yeah, why are the industry still behind? And it just seems that, as you said, the producers have to come up with these sort of solutions. They usually are the ones to do so, and hopefully this next generation solves a lot of these issues.
Well, we're as in America here, from corn especially, and then beans. I mean, we are the world leader in production. I mean, we definitely have done a fantastic job of doing it. So our farmers are ahead of the rest of the world for the most part. However, there's areas that are still open for development, and if anyone with a good amount of imagination is going to do very well for themselves in the future. So,
Well,
yeah,
Scott, you sign checks, have meetings with lawyers.
yeah,
I'm sure that you've had many business brunches.
yeah.
What do you do whenever no one's around? You just have a free moment. If you have a free day, do whatever you want. What do you do?
I know I've got them. Let me just think here.
Go
for a minute.
backpacking in
I know I
Canada?
have them. I know I do. I do like to get out, and we have a little cabin here in South Dakota. I like getting out to that, and actually like getting out to ranch and doing some deer hunting and things like that. That's one of my favorite things to do. Long range shooting, stuff like that. Something that gets your mind off of it.
Do you remember the time that we were canoeing in Canada and Max and Tom were messing around and he tipped the canoe
It does look at it.
and
Yeah,
all my
all my stuff hit the water.
just seemed to the bottom. And,
I know. I don't think I've talked to Tom since then. I mean, I really feel like I should send him a card this winter.
guys, it was a crystal clear Canadian lake, and like last day on the lake, nothing could ruin our spirits. And then a little bit of fucking around, a canoe gets tipped over.
Yeah.
That was an ordeal. Those trips are so much fun. I only have one tattoo, but it's a loon.
Oh, do you really?
I love that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go get another tattoo after this. We'll get something, just for fun.
I was thinking about Sioux Steel right above my. Oh yeah.
Oh, thanks. That's
Okay.
Aren't you not supposed to drink if you get a tattoo? I thought you were.
I don't even remember getting.
I think we're gonna do another trip this year too. So we're looking forward to,
Seriously?
doing it. Yeah, doing another one. Yeah. Yeah.
Are we in?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll see how this interview goes. I guess we'll have to.
As he shotguns a tequila. Well, there's a man.
Ladies and gentlemen, just keep that on the record. Scott Rysdon didn't even offer me a sip.
Sorry. Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, I'll get you a cap full here. No.
Worm, eat the worm.
So, Scott, now that we're getting a little emotional again, in this, what's the toughest thing that you've ever had to work through? Because you're in a very specific role. You've seen a lot of things that people have not had to deal with ever.
Yeah. It's clear in my mind, February 12th, 2015, when one of our truckers who had bipolar disorder had, unbeknownst to us, had not taken his medications, and he had a route that he wanted to do, a Californian route, and they gave him a route to New Vienna, Iowa, and he didn't want to do it, and he came back and he shot a couple of our employees and killed one and injured another one, and she's still, paralyzed in a home. So it was a very difficult situation watching people go through that. And I'll tell you, it's unbelievable from the human psyche standpoint what people have to do when they see that. Not only when they participate in it, and you think of everybody talks about PTSD and how traumatic that is. One by one, those people just kind of left the company because it was just too much for them to remember. It was the scenes and everything. And so as a CEO, you don't know what to do. I mean, there's no real Bible. They don't teach you that in school or anything. Yeah, you're just trying to set up a command center, and you're looking for PR people to help you and anybody to handle the media, and then you're trying to find ways to help other businesses look for reasons to protect themselves from it and find it. But I remember seeing the emotional heartbreak of the people who were in the office at the time of the shooting, and they're affected for the rest of their lives, and yeah.
I remember that day.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. We're in such a small area where it's something like that is like, that was one of the biggest.
Yeah, it was a big, it was a big deal here locally. And I remember I was at the show in Louisville, and when I heard the news, I was sitting on the couch in the exhibitor lounge, and my assistant, Karen Dvorak, was actually, just frantic over the phone telling me about it. And they were all hiding because they thought, well, maybe there was another shooter. They didn't know, so everybody's, maybe they were in the basement. I don't know. I wasn't here, but, I got from the show to the airport right away. She got me a flight back. By the time I made it to the airport, the reporters were already calling me for comment. And so it was just a shitstorm. And you just, the courage to be in that place for people, it's gonna come. I mean, everybody is gonna be there. Somebody is gonna die, something's gonna happen, and to find that courage, really, there was a lot in my faith. And then the other part was just super employees that were there to help. We formed that room, and to a person, in those individual events, they found the strength to do it. I was so surprised that when called upon to find the strength to get through a situation like that, they found it somewhere deep inside themselves, and we stuck together. Around that table, I remember at the livestock division, for days on end, we would spend all day in the room discussing strategy, what were we gonna do next, and that was probably, for sure, the hardest time we had, so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the ag market, it was declining. My daughter got cancer in 18, so it was about a 3 or 4 year, 5 year stint there where it was rough. And of course, 14, 15 to about 19, 20, the market was tough too, declining net farm income and things like that. So it was a rough time. Yeah, but I always tell kids, look, just don't think it's going to be rosy your entire life. But your intuition, being able to be have some innovative looks at what's going to happen to you ahead, and just be courageous. Just trust in the fact that you can't fail. People are counting on you, so they need you. You're like your son. He needs you. It's a part of your life. You're going to stand up, man. That's just the way it is. And that was one of our things. We just said, you don't have to stand tall, but you do have to stand up.
Wow. That's profound.
Yeah.
Holy mac! I stubbed my toe last week.
Yeah.
Dang, Scott.
Yeah.
That's something that, even of every CEO ever, there's such a small percentage that have ever had to deal with anything like that. Like I just feel like I wouldn't know what to do in that moment either. There's almost no reaction to that makes everyone happy.
It's happened to a lot of people, and of course we're have more mental illness and lots of problems now. Especially with the rise of social media, so it's going to be a difficult future if we don't come to grips with it, for sure.
You're right. Where do you see the future of this industry going? What's the next big change that's going to happen?
Well, pay most attention to our sector, and again, I go back to the IoT of everything, but and people know that I think pretty clearly. that we've got huge changes to make. But yeah, it's you know, if I'm looking out into the future a long way, that I won't see it's really, you know, we're going to be more automated, and it's going to be easier for the producer to find a market for their crops. That I think I would stop there, because, you know, I don't want to give it away, but I do think there's some amazing things that are going to happen, and maybe we do that on another show.
Oh, I was about to say.
Yeah, right.
Maybe innovative. I know. I saw you had something cocked and loaded.
It's yeah, but
We could just get a sponsor though.
it's gonna blow the doors off what we're doing today, and hopefully I get to see that get started. But
well, next time that we have a little bit of time to talk together, I think that it'd be cool for us to do something out in the field.
Sure.
Where we can actually look at something like, I would love to see, and I've only seen them on the side of the road, but I'd love to see a grain bag getting filled.
okay,
To be honest.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
every
yeah.
time that I see one, I just think that must be a cool process to watch that happen.
It is. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's trended, so you know that kind of goes up and down depending on what the use and the need and so forth like that. Steel storage is still more stable, but we do a significant amount undercover in those buildings. I mean, in the tension membrane buildings, we do a lot of storage underneath those, and that is a really strong market, and actually fits very well with another segment of the market that maybe has indeterminate soils, or soils that aren't really great to put a big structure straight with all the weight on it. And we find that is an amazing thing about our company, and I think every company should be doing that, providing a multiple solutions rather than just trying to beat everybody on price, which sometimes the grain bin is looked like that, is to try to find those other solutions for people to use beside just, let's just build it cheaper because that's the only solution.
Right.
Yeah.
But now I have one last very important question. And this question was given to me by our assistant producer to the assistant producer.
Okay, really? Yeah, all right.
What's your favorite cut of beef, and how do you take it?
What's my favorite cut of beef? Guts, yeah. Well, it's not sirloin, but it's,
Whoa!
yeah, I know that's like the anti-James comment there, but it's not sirloin. It would be the ribeye, I mean, by far, you know, I mean, obviously cutting it thick and doing it. I love to cook, so, you know, we've had some great times together, cook and roast and things like that. So, I mean, we had a blast doing it. But yeah, we have U.S. beef only.
Good.
Yeah, all the time. Yep, USA.
Woo! U.S. beef. Woo!
Yeah. And hopefully they're successful in that country of origin labeling. I was just talking to somebody on the way here, and I'm going, yeah, can you believe anything you buy from China's got a little sticker that says China on it? I mean, who hasn't seen the sticker of something that's made in China?
Yeah.
You can't get a label on it that says it's made in the United States. You can't get USA on the beef. The fact that you've got all these producers producing this fantastic product for people.
We've gotten so politically correct on a lot of things to where it's like, well, you know that they put that label on it here in the States, right? So I guess our last question for you really is, we see the industry change, and we've talked about that. We've talked about the future of ag. And I mean, as a beginner, I'm really just here to figure out your thoughts on the future of ag. I don't have much to say on it there. What does the future of Sioux Steel look like, though, going forward? How is it going to keep up with the industry? What is the future leadership going to be like?
We're going to do a great job keeping up with the industry, I think. And we have, up to this date, shown forward progress on areas of pain points for the producer and so forth. I think the future of ag is actually you, Parker. I mean, the future of ag, and every farmer out there knows it. Yeah, I mean, every farmer knows it, is the youth of our nation and being interested and ready to plug into ag. We're actually the number one. It's one of our, I mean, in America, or in the world, excuse me, we're the number one producer around the world. And I think that's a very important place to keep, and we need young people like you. And my son joined the company, so he's going to be, so now we have the 5th generation here, and you guys are on the 2nd generation. Exciting. Super important. I think if I'm thinking about all of those great guys out there, they're going to say the same thing. It's a family business. It's going to stay family, and they want to have their kids and people buy into what's going on in ag. And it's a great, not only is it a great career, it's a great lifestyle, and we're very lucky. We're extremely lucky, and we're very happy to have you on board. And I'm glad to be a part of some of your first episodes here. And hopefully, maybe in the future, you'll have somebody like Max on, and he'll be able to talk to you about.
Imagine us two, assistant director or whatever.
Yeah,
and
whatever.
Max, like, that'd be so much
Yeah,
fun.
that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
And I remember Max upstairs. I remember when we were taking apart computers, and you were my dad's boss, and so we were joking around. He's like, "Well, maybe one day I'll run this company and I'll be your boss." And I was like, "Ha ha ha!" And the other day I sent him a text, and I was like, "Ha ha ha!" It's all coming together.
Yeah.
I was at Linscove's, and I literally sent him a picture of the basement down there, and I said, "Do you remember the amount of hours we spent tinkering around?"
That's awesome.
Thank you so much, Scott, for coming on.
You bet.
I'm glad that we were
Happy
able to
to do
get
it.
you in right away, and we're going to have you back.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate being here.
Do you have any final parting words for the people?
Nope, you don't have to stand up tall, but you do have to stand up.
Hey, there we go. Yes, we needed that. Cut!